Thank you all for joining us again in a Pneuma conversation, a raw, authentic, and unfiltered conversation with spiritual teachers, leaders, coaches, and healers. Get to know who we truly are beyond the polished world of interviews, social media, and podcasts. We're not perfect, and we struggle too. Join us as we share our lives, our challenges, and have meaningful discussions and conversations on healing, transformation, and the future of humanity. Today, we are in conversation with Andrew Del Rossi. Andrew, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Chad. Glad to be with you.
So, who is Andrew? Because you're new to my community here, and to my audience. So just tell us a little bit in a nutshell who you are, what you do, uh, whatever you want to share.
Sure. Good question. Who is Andrew? Who is Andrew today, right?
Sure.
So my name is Andrew Del Rossi. I serve as the director of the Spirituality and Retreat Center at Dalesford Abbey, which is an abbey, or if you think of a monastery in southeastern Pennsylvania, just outside the Philadelphia area. And I live in the area with my wife and our children, our small children. And in addition to serving at the Abbey in the capacity as the director of the retreat center, I also am a presenter and scholar of the work of Pierre Terre de Chardin, who I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about more today.
Yep. Yep.
Through my pursuits there, I'm also involved in the American Teilhard Association. We have a podcast where I interview different guests, and that's how I connected with you, Chad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit about me. I've been doing presenting for a number of years now, and now doing some publishing and some writing.
Oh, wow.
Just continuing to, spread my reach that way with my work.
Yeah. And you have your own podcast as well, right?
Yeah. The first one I started was called Abbeycast, and it
Oh,
was during the COVID pandemic here at Dalesford Abbey. I started at the Abbey started my new job at the Abbey as the director the day that COVID started and everything was declared to be shut down.
yeah.
So quite providential in that way, where we started from scratch, quite literally. We shut everything down, and there was nothing going on here, and now we're busier than we've ever been in that capacity.
Mm,
Yeah, one of the things that we did during busier as a retreat center than we've ever been, I should say. On the virtual front during the pandemic, we started a podcast, and there's about 20 some episodes of that one where
okay.
I interview different people in or associated with the Abbey. The Abbey is a Norbertine community, so there's 19 Norbertine priests who are Roman Catholic religious order priests who live here and call this Abbey home. But then eventually, at some point over the past few years, I started another podcast, the American Teilhard Association podcast. I am a board member with the ATA, the American Teilhard Association, and I am a big fan of podcasts. Having a bunch of little children in my life, I don't have too much time to myself, so audio format is really great for being able to multitask. Not great
Sure.
like when you're with the kids, but like when I'm like cleaning the kitchen up at nighttime or something like that, that's like a great time to listen to a podcast when
Yeah.
my wife is maybe giving them a bath or something like that, right? So anyway, yeah, I'm a big fan of the long form conversation and the platforms beyond the mainstream media, where we've had such great access to so many awesome conversations and wonderful thinkers and people who are doing incredible things in the world. I've encountered them through podcasts, not on late night television or the morning show or something like that. It's usually been through YouTube or some form of social media. And then you find a clip usually, and then you're like, oh, I'm curious as to what that person has to say, beyond just 30 seconds here. And then lo and behold, there is a 2 hour, 1 hour, maybe 3 hour interview.
Mm,
So we've been doing the ATA podcast now for I think 17 episodes we have. Um, and Yeah, I mean that's been great, and I enjoy doing it. So I'm planning on continuing to do it.
yeah. You are great at it. I do enjoy watching your podcast as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's hard to go back and watch myself sometimes, but
It is. It's one of those. It's like you said though. It's one of those podcasts that I can just turn on and don't have to watch, so I can just listen to myself.
okay, okay,
Right?
cool. Yeah, yeah.
You can do the same with yours.
Well, I don't necessarily go back and listen in that way.
Yeah.
I end up being super critical. It's like
Yeah.
you go back and watch a video of yourself giving a presentation, and you're like, oh, I can't believe I said so many times, or something to that effect, right?
Yeah. I totally understand it. It's one of the things that I had to overcome in order to do what I'm doing, and it's part of the reason why also I'm letting this show be unfiltered. I'm not going to correct the mistakes. I'm not going to criticize myself and judge myself for all the ums and the nose scratching and this is who we are, and we all make mistakes and we all make the same mistakes, and it's time to be compassionate to ourselves and to each other. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I
I'm not
totally
a big
get it.
fan of editing mine.
Yeah,
I try and just let it roll whenever possible. But there's sometimes
sure.
when I usually give the guest the grace of saying, okay, I want to go back and edit
Hmm.
that out or something to that effect. The thing that kills me is redundancy from my
Yeah.
own side.
Okay.
It's like I'll use the same word in a sentence or a question two
Yes.
times is already redundant, right? But then I'll
Yeah.
do it like three times and the horse is just dead and beaten on the ground.
Yes, I do the
So,
same.
admittedly, I will take the liberty sometimes to edit out my own, poor phrasing of a question, because I don't know if it's just me or, if other listeners would be like, wait, what the heck did he just say? Like, I know what the question is. Like, you ever see those optical illusions where the word is all misspelled, but your brain just knows what it is? That's the
Yes.
way I feel like I ask my question sometimes. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, that needs to be clear. So, yeah.
Totally get it. Totally get
So
it.
how long you been doing this show for?
Oh, we are new, brand new. I've already tomorrow will be the third episode will
Oh,
drop, will
sweet.
air.
Cool.
And I am filled out, scheduled with people till the end, almost to the end of August so far.
Awesome.
And it continues to fill up. People are still getting back to me on reserving their dates, but it's almost as if it's just happening on its own.
Wonderful.
I put it out there, and just people are responding, and so it's amazing. I'm honored, I'm humbled, I'm blessed, and we'll see what happens with this. But like I said at the beginning, I my intention for everything I'm doing is to create a community,
Hmm.
loving, unconditional, accepting, period.
Hmm.
No matter what label you give yourself, we just need that in our society. We need that in our humanity.
Yeah.
And if I can, I mean, it kind of leads up to it can be a difficult question that I'd like to ask you. You're practicing Roman Catholic, and and I'm not going to say anything you don't know. A lot of people have disdain for primarily the Catholic Church, and so you are very one of the reasons I have you on my show and you're in my life. You're very open and loving and affirming. Period. And I want people to hear that even though you're a practicing Roman Catholic, that's not a bad thing. We are all brothers and sisters, and
Well, thank you, Chad. That's
and
very affirming. Um,
I try to be as you try your best. And so I don't know exactly what the question is, but you know what I'm talking about, because you've
mhm,
heard it many times. You and I have also talked about it,
mhm.
uh, during the retreats and stuff. So whatever comes to your heart, share with what I just said.
Yeah, I mean, I am a practicing Catholic in the Roman Church. Um,
Doesn't define you though,
well, so I guess it's a
or does
matter
it?
of semantics and etymology,
Yes.
where
Okay.
the word Catholic, lowercase c, means
Yes.
universal.
Yes.
Etymologically, that's the meaning of that word.
Absolutely.
Now, when you capitalize it, capital C, Catholic Church. That's something entirely different, right? That's the
Mm.
institutional structure. That's uh, then you have someone like Richard Rohr who talks about the
Yeah.
oxymoronic nature of calling it the Roman Catholic Church. Well,
Yes.
the Roman Universal Church, or is it exclusive? It's universally Roman, or how does that exactly work out, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, I am what you would call a cradle Catholic. I was born and raised in Roman Catholicism, and I received my sacraments and everything like that, and it's not it's only that I practice, I think, because I am challenged in that way,
Mm.
or live in that tension of the challenge of evolution of a practice that uh, I think we could say at one point had a much more efficacious place in culture and in the human experience, in the human psyche, than it does now. I think it was a much more universal and a much more contemplative practice, in terms of it being, a really interiorized thing, as opposed to what a lot of Christianity is nowadays. Unfortunately, even a lot of Roman Catholicism nowadays is leaning one of two ways, either like back toward the pre-Vatican II church, where the mass is being said in Latin, or leaning like uber progressive, where you're not even singing Catholic hymns at mass
Mm.
anymore. They're Protestant praise and worship songs, and
Wow.
this Jesusism. It's all about Jesus, Jesus, um,
Mhm.
but it doesn't get beyond that. Um, that it doesn't get to the heart of that reality of Jesus, which is something that we touch on in the work of someone like Teilhard de Chardin, where there is this cosmic dimension to our belief, to our being, and to our union in that way, wherein we're all connected through this larger person of Christ, right? And it's not a human person in that way, but it's human, it's cosmic, and it's divine, and all those things. So, yeah, I mean, that's a very big way of answering a smaller question of, like, how do I practice my faith, right? Um, I'm a person who tries to be as universally connected as possible.
Mm.
And
Yes.
I'm raised within this scaffolding of a tradition, and live within the tension of that tradition, of the growth that has occurred, the trauma that has occurred and continues
Mm.
to occur, along with the growth. All these things, the challenge, the struggle, the triumph. So it's yeah, it's a challenge for myself and for my wife, because we struggle to feel, or we struggle to find sense of community in a lot of ways, where we're like searching for our people,
Mm.
um, and we come from a background that's very different from, or like from an area, I'd say, that's like kind of different from where we are now, just in terms of like people's background, even socioeconomic status, worship style, way of acting out your faith and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's a challenge right now in that way, and especially having young children, we are, um, doing our best to authentically raise our kids in that tradition, while doing it our own way, per se.
Mm. Yeah.
If that makes sense. So yeah, it's to say that we're building them up with a thesis, so to speak, that they can then deconstruct and create an antithesis of, and then eventually synthesize that all back together.
Right. So
To-
a lot of people who are not familiar with the Catholic Church, and are but some of the simple understanding is you're Catholic and you can't get married. So you're married, you work at an abbey.
Mhm.
Can you explain that for us, those of us who don't understand what all that, because you don't have to be celibate to be part of the Catholic Church or to be in ministry in the Catholic Church, especially with what
No,
you're doing.
yeah, you don't have to be celibate, and you don't have to be a professed in that way. Like, you don't have to be a professed religious, like a priest or a nun, something like that. Um, yeah, and I would say that so yeah, you don't need to be clergy to work in the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church has a long-standing history of working hand in hand with the laity in that way. Um,
And you're not a brother. You're not a, I mean, in a way you are, because you're part of the Abbey community, but you don't wear
no,
the
no,
the
so no,
robe
I'm
and
not. Yeah, like we're all brothers and sisters, right? But no,
yeah, yeah,
I'm not a religious brother in this community in that way, or in any,
yeah.
official religious community in that way. I'm a brother of the cosmos, right? Brother of the earth.
Yes,
But
exactly.
yeah, but no, no. So I'm not like an official member of this community in that way.
Yeah.
There are priests that live here. There have been brothers at times in the past.
Hmm.
Um, then there's a community of lay associates who are lay people. Some of them married, some single, widowed, whatever,
Yeah.
who serve and worship in communion with the Norbertines here at the Abbey. So.
Mhm.
Um, if you think of kind of like a third order Franciscan or something to that effect. But
Okay.
yeah, so I mean, the church is at a point now where they're seeing a lot of the clergy age out, and they don't have the numbers coming in terms of young
Mhm.
vocations who are qualified to be staffing these positions. So they're needing to look to qualified lay professionals. We're even seeing a shift where you're having churches take the administrative burden off of a pastor who would typically be a priest who is ordained and does all of his sacramental priestly functions like say mass and work with people regarding the sacraments and things like that. But then he's also working with his office staff to maybe balance budgets and hire people and work with capital planning and things like that. So
Mhm.
it's a lot for one person to manage, especially when they're not trained in that sort of thing. So we're
Yeah.
seeing this trend within some Catholic churches and parishes now where they're hiring a layperson to fill that pastor role. It might take
Okay.
on a different title in some way, but they're that person that is essentially running the show. And then the priest is more reserved to do his priestly duties, such as
Mhm.
sacramental ministry, pastoral ministry, so forth and so on.
So you're kind of the go between the Abbey life and the public life. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Um, Yeah, in many ways. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a number of ministries here at the Abbey, but our largest ministry is the one that I'm the director of here in terms of the retreat center, just by the numbers in terms of how many people are coming through this center yearly,
Mhm.
the number of people we impact in that way. And it's yeah, it's a great opportunity to reach out to the community, especially when the community here, in terms of, I mean, the public community and then the professed community here
Yeah.
is their age. They're 79 is their average age. So
Oh,
um, like I said, vocations is not just a local issue. It's a universal issue in the church for the most part. So
yeah.
it's great to be able to bring young people here. We do a lot with high schools and colleges that come to the Abbey. So even if they're not going to become a Norbertine or become a priest or a nun
Sure.
or something like that, it's still great to give them that experience of a space where they can, work on some spiritual stuff.
Yeah. It's nice to. I think it's also nice to see a for some people, it's nice to see her younger face. Some people
Oh
can more
yeah, they
identify
bring a
with the younger. Yeah.
whole different energy to the building, and even the way they bring life out of the older folk. You see a whole
Yeah.
different vibrancy come out of them. Yeah.
That's nice. Well, I was even referring to you in the role that you play. Because you are a
Okay.
member. You're a member of the Abbey. You're a vocal member of the Abbey, and you what like said the average age was 70 something or like that, and you're definitely not in your 70s. So people can relate to you a little, may be able to relate to you a little bit more just because you're younger and be able to want to have a conversation and check out the Abbey because they're seeing you.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Yeah. Of course.
If they
I
if they think I'm young.
Yeah, you're younger than I am, so you're young. Oh, oh my. Where do you see there's so much going on in our world today. So much. And people are trying to find a community. They're trying to find a home in a way. And then, we have this conversation of aliens coming, and you've also talked about it on your podcast a little bit with some of the Tehard guests you've had.
Mhm.
Where do you see the church going with all that? They're going to become more reserved, more open, more or whatever, or just stay neutral? What?
Regarding technological advancements or evolution in particular, or
Just kind of in general, or whatever, however you want to answer it.
yeah, I would say that the church, Catholic Church, has a great intellectual tradition in that it has always, for the most part, been open to the great advancements of humankind through
Mm,
these modalities of discovery, be it science, so forth, so on.
sure.
On the same, on the other side of the coin is the reality that the church has been incredibly, um, you know, resistant to the death at points of these types of changes within our world, right? You take someone like Giordano Bruno, who was burned at the stake because he proclaims that his God is too big for the church to describe in the way that it was doing at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Galileo, so forth, so on, all the way up to figures like Teilhard de Chardin, who is talking about the coexistence of faith and evolution, and how science is, in a way, a form of worship, and
Yes.
we all play a vital role in the evolution of not just our species, but of the planet as a whole and of the entire cosmos. And to touch on what you were talking to before in terms of your hopes with this podcast, how this is all being made possible, being fueled by, and being allured by, beckoned by this mysterious power of love.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, like that's the wavelength that I'm on when it comes to my spirituality and how I connect. So I think that the more the church can really move into a more authentically universal consciousness of faith and of spirituality and of the practice of those things through religion, right? Religion is the modality through which we exercise our spiritual muscle, so to speak, right? It's, the vehicle through which faith moves and takes on flesh and bone in a way, through that myth that we in a way cling to and find a way to evolve with. So it's looking at, like I mentioned before, this cosmic nature to Jesus. It's not just this person, this carpenter from Nazareth who lived some 2,000 years ago in a backwater town in the Middle East. It's the reality that that nature of us being all children of God is present within every human being. But that role that person of Jesus of Nazareth played was so critical in a way as to be able to um, catalyze that recapitulation within all humanity in that way.
Mhm.
So I think that's to say that the more the church is able to, um, I would say it starts with a lot of like education, probably of its priests. I don't know what, a seminary education is like. I know that you probably get a better one with a religious order than you would with a diocese or an archdiocese in that way. I would say that at this point in the church's history, and especially falling back on that reality of the vocation crisis, they're more concerned with just forming young guys that know how to, I hate to say this, but change the oil, so to speak, and, do the
Yeah.
sacraments and say mass and stuff like that, and you can just put them out there in parishes where you have guys that are retiring, or it's a merger, or parishes are closing, things like that. So the church is very much on life support in that way. But I
Mm.
think that young people, especially anyone who might be pursuing a religious vocation, are incredibly intelligent, and they have access to such information that you and I, um, when we were younger, never would have dreamed of having such easy and fast access to. It's seamless.
Yeah.
And I think that, just through our natural inquisitive nature, our younger generations are seeking, and they're not giving into that fad of like the late 90s and early 2000s of atheism that really grabbed a bunch of generations by hold. You had Dawkins and Hawking and Kurzweil and all these people who
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
talking about the glory of the human person, right? And yeah, I mean, the human person is glorious, but we are part of something much, much more glorious than we can even imagine in that way. And that's where spirituality serves as that substrate for us to tap into that deeper reality in that way. So yeah, so I mean, I think that it's like the more the church can educate both its clerics and its laity, as well as encourage a true interiority with people's spirituality, rather than,
Mhm.
like I said before, just the Jesusism or the go to massism and get your sacramentism of the going through the motions of a practice in that way. So you could apply that to really any religious church or any true religion in that way, right? It's like
Yeah.
education,
Yeah.
catechesis, and encouraging authentic practice in that way. So
Mhm. Beautiful. So you've mentioned Teilhard a couple times. So let's just get into Teilhard. But so it's a twofold question. Who is Teilhard for those who don't know? And why do you think there's such a following?
Pierre Terre de Chardin is a French priest, scientist, and mystic. He was born in 1881 in France, and he died in 1955 in New York City.
Mhm.
And he is a seminal figure in both religious and spiritual circles, as well as within scientific and even broader circles. He was a paleontologist. He had a wide and diverse circle of friends and connections and associates across the world. So he was very much ahead of his time when it came to synthesizing the worlds of religion and science, of faith and reason, so as to say, like I alluded to earlier, they can exist and need to exist in a universe where things are just continually emerging into greater wholeness. So it only made sense that they did not exist in vacuums, but together in some sort of synergy. And for Teilhard, he found this through evolution and this idea of the cosmic Christ, where you don't have God just or God injecting God's self into reality and into created matter and its form of this person of Jesus. Um, so it's just like the God and the human in some Gnostic way of matter and spirit, but it's God, human, and the entire universe, whereby we
Mm.
have then this realization that God is within everything, right? God is within the
Yeah.
chips and the circuitry making these computers work. God is within the air we breathe. God is within you and I and all of the people we'll interact with today, whether or not we like them, whether or not we get along with them, whether or not we
Exactly.
notice them, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, Teilhard, I think, is so important and relevant today because he is someone who, uh, like I said, he was ahead of his time, but he was uh, he was relentless in his pursuit of the truth and his pursuit of what held reality together. And I
Mm.
think that that's something that intrinsically causes or catalyzes like interiority, like I was talking about before. Um, so it's not like he's encouraging us to go out in the world and, find God, like, like look at grass or look at rocks or stare up in the skies and find God. Like he is very much saying that, but it's really like take that experience and internalize it and sit with it and see how it reverberates within your being and how it goes beyond just the blade of grass or the beam of light coming through the trees or the ripple in the water or something like that,
Yeah.
and see how that resonates with your core. Um, so yeah, I mean, you talked about before in your introduction to this paragraph about the divisiveness of the world and things are so this or that, take a stand, take a side. And that's not to say that like Teilhard wouldn't take a side in some matters. Like when it came to World War One, he was initially um, what's the word? Not conscripted, but maybe that would be the proper word. I don't know. Well, he was anyway, called to be on the front lines initially, as a priest in that way, which really wouldn't have had him on the front lines as much, but more like, back at a base or something.
Hmm.
But no, he said, I want to be on the front lines. I want to be part of this larger effort, whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish here as a human organism. I don't really know what that is in
Right.
terms of this war, but I want to be a part of that. So again, it's like he wouldn't remove himself from these situations, but he would insert himself in it and then take it several levels beyond the experience itself to be like, how has this gone deep within me? And how have I gone deep within it? And how are we in some way in union?
And why do you think he has such a following? I mean, who really cares? We could say that, but other people have come along. They've done similar things, maybe not as much as Teilhard has, but
Yeah.
there's a whole group in the United States and in Europe that is the ATA, for example. It's like, why? Do you
Yeah,
understand the
and there's
question?
organizations too that have been inspired by him,
Yeah.
started. So yeah, it's definitely a testament to not just his person, but it's really his larger vision. I think, I mean,
Okay.
he was an incredible person. You can read his biography or watch the documentary that Frank and Mary Frost produced
Yes.
in
Beautiful.
terms, with Teilhard, Visionary Scientist, it's called.
Yes.
So I
Yep.
definitely recommend that for people to watch
On
if
PBS.
yeah, it's on PBS. I think you can just stream it or it's on the app.
Yep.
So at any rate, um, yeah, I mean, he definitely has a very powerful personal story in that way. It's
Hmm.
motivating. It might make you tear up at times. It's inspiring. Right? It's all the things we want in a good story.
Yeah.
There's a love story in there too. The drama of him being a Catholic priest in the midst of this love story,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just something larger that he touches on that is truly Catholic in that way. It's truly universal, and I think that no matter what walk of life people might be coming from, there is something within them and within the thought of terror that resonate with each other and ring true. So as to say that, yeah, in my time being a parent and raising children, I remember this experience of watching my children do this, and I thought of these words from Teilhard or something like that, or in my time in the laboratory, or when I was playing music, or when I was working with the homeless, or something to that effect, right? His his vision gets to the heart of it in that way, where it gives us something that is truly and rawly universal
Hmm.
and speaking to that reality of Christ that is within all people. And two, I should say, depending on where your audience is coming from, the word Christ is not a name in that way, but it's like a
Right.
title and it means anointed. And that's where we have the word chrism, right? The chrism oil that we use during baptism and at one's confirmation, the oils that we use, in anointing when one is ill or it might be dying. So it's a great reminder that we are all called to be Christified in that way.
Mm.
Uh, Tara talks too about how the universe is not just in this process of evolution, but this process of evolution is part of something much bigger. He says it's a spiritualization of the cosmos, and that spiritualization is part of something even bigger than that. Right? So it's like these concentric circles. You have evolution, you have spiritualization, you have Christification,
Hmm.
and it's this awakening that we are all experiencing in some way that is
Yeah.
bringing us to this collective reality that um, we are all children of God.
He's very relatable in that way, and that's one of the things I have grown to love about him is him, and you said it earlier. God is in everything,
Yeah,
not just in certain things, but in everything. And how could he not be if he's the creator?
right.
You know, um, and would you? I think you've said this, but I love this word pneuma. It's my business name and what I practice, and the breath of God breathe into us to give us life. Do you think because of that definition that the church gave us so long ago, God is living and breathing inside of us?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 And
Some
not
people,
even because the church gave us that definition,
exactly, absolutely. Thank you for
yeah,
saying that. Yes.
but because it's a lived reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people struggle with that. Um, even my Protestant friends, they struggle. Like, I agree with you until the point of him living and breathing inside of us, and I'm like, okay,
Okay.
and that's fine. That's fine. But to me, it takes on a whole new. When and I just it's something I just put together just a few years ago. It was right before I met you. Um, I just had this awareness. Okay, if God breathed into me, that means He's living inside of me. My very DNA is of Him. Yes, and that means I can do. I have the power of God living and dwelling inside of me. And I'm not saying that I am the God. That's not where I'm going. Um,
Right.
but I have the power to create with Him, because we are co-creators. I have the power to change my life to be who He wants me to be. And
Yeah.
I think that's empowering. And we forget how powerful we are as being children of God.
Yeah.
So,
And I think you can see then there's a natural tension between that realization, that awakening, and then that institutional notion of church, whereby institutions are all for hierarchies in terms of how their power is structured, and that's incredibly empowering to the people and disempowering to the hierarchical power structure when you tell them all that they have God within them, and it's not just the church that has the keys that access the holy of holies that will therefore allow you access to God, and you've got to go through this
yeah.
process, right? Yeah, I mean, you forget it's like it's not a requirement of religious life that you have to be a holy person.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
And I get it, man. Like I get it. It's just like sometimes I laugh when I see these people come and seek the counsel of priests. Like, yes, they have some training and lifetime of experience and stuff like that, but it's like they're no holier than you or I or the person that's walking in off the street seeking that help. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And holiness doesn't mean perfection. I think we're holy because of the Creator.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. Um,
Yeah,
so
God doesn't make junk.
what's that?
God doesn't make junk.
That's exactly it. Absolutely. And neither do we. Um, so
Well,
being
some of us do.
well, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. You got me.
I've made
Uh,
junk a time or two in my life.
okay. It's the
I've had to right some wrongs.
yes, yeah, and that's yes.
Hmm.
You're right. Absolutely,
But I'm not
absolutely.
God.
No, 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 no. So being you're probably the youngest member of the community. You and your wife are probably the youngest members. Um,
Yeah, well, some of the youngest. Yeah.
some of the youngest. Okay, okay. Do you have um access to other couples your age, and you're able to get into a group, and that you're not just all just Abby every single day?
We do. Yeah. I mean, I think that's where I go back to in terms of like it's a struggle in terms of the faith dynamic.
Mm,
Because, yeah, you might all be Christian or Catholic or whatever, but you may still have very different experiences and be coming from some very different places too. So,
yeah,
my wife and I are very grateful that we have each other in that way.
sure.
I mean, yeah. So we're grateful that we have our own people, our own communities too, in that way. Whereby there is some solace in the sense of connection. I think it's just like not a mainstream thing though yet. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And um, yeah, I mean, you can find some areas where it's like more mainstream for the people just to really be into like liturgy, and they sound great when they sing at mass or whatever, and like then there's some areas where it's like they're really into service. um and personally that's kind of where I like lean, is like more towards like a community that's like
mm,
more into service and more putting their faith into action rather than just kind of like um doing the churchy stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was a critical point in my spiritual growth, was when I realized how important that service was, and how important it is in terms of being able to move past points when you're stuck in your spiritual life too.
Yeah.
You often gravitate, like, it's like spiritual life is, like, for the most part, kind of, it's everywhere, right? But it's kind of like in this core area, and then but when it like starts to go up here and just all condenses in there, you can't get out of that mental trap, man. So you just got to like put your hands to work and be like, all right, how can I move beyond my mind and get back into my body here, and like you said, return to the breath and
Yeah.
let God do what God's trying to do here.
Yeah. Speaking, Jason was just trying to call me while we're taping here. So,
Oh, nice. You should
and
have
he's
picked up. You
yeah,
should have picked up.
yeah,
Call him back.
call him back. Yeah, yeah. Jason's another friend of ours, and he's a part of this group, and so maybe one day we'll see him on the show, and maybe the three of us will have a conversation. Um, who are you outside of Abbey life? I mean, what are your hobbies? What do you like? What are your likes? What do you do? I mean, or is just you're just Abbey life 24/7? I don't think you are, but
No, sometimes it feels like that. And I mean, depending on the seasons, I could definitely be here the majority of the days of the week and hours of the day. Like I said, we're very busy, but yeah, I'm very intentional, or as intentional as I can be, about creating some space between
Mm,
the Abbey and my life with my family. I mean, I love to do stuff outside with my family. My kids love nature, so we like to hike, and we have a nice garden and a little
mm,
fruit orchard. So we like to spend plenty of time outside, and we have chickens too. So that keeps us busy at home, and I enjoy doing those sorts of activities, with the family. Although most of them tend to fall on me in terms of the real responsibilities of like clean up and making sure the animals are fed and the garden is tended and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, I like to spend a lot of time with my family, play with my kids. We like to go to the beach. So we spend a lot of time in nature here in Pennsylvania, and we travel a good amount too, as much as a young family can in our minivan, making
okay.
yeah, yeah. We don't fly anymore ever since our second child turned two. It
Oh
gets
my.
very expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, we put the miles on the minivan, and we like to visit
Yeah.
family around the country and stuff like that. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. It depends on the season and what I'm into. Like, I'll go through phases where I start doing a lot of drawing or maybe painting. I also do writing too. So, it's like you get the bug, you get the inspirational bug, and you get
Yeah.
an idea, and they just start flowing. So it's like, all right, like, what could this be? Could it be a presentation? Could it be a book?
Mm, right.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I like to keep myself busy in a variety of different ways.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Um, as we're coming to the close of our conversation here, I will put in the show notes Tehard. I'll put the Abbey information in there as well
Cool.
in case people want to come and visit or even reach out to you, if that's okay. Um, so, one final question.
Oh, is this the surprise?
This is the surprise question.
Cool.
We all struggle, Andrew. And what is your biggest struggle? And and sometimes that overlaps with you've heard the phrase dark night of the soul.
Mm.
So it's kind of a twofold question, but again, however you want to answer it. But what is your biggest struggle? Is it connected to your dark night of the soul? Is it not? But and I believe there's more than one dark night of the soul, especially when we're on this growth journey. You know,
Mm.
you hear often people only talk about it happening one time, and I'm like, it's not been my experience. So, but if you're willing to be raw and authentic with us a little bit more, what's your biggest struggle as Andrew?
Well, like you said, there are many dark nights of the soul that we can go through as we progress through life, right? But I would say where I'm at right now, one of my biggest struggles or challenges is the struggle to let go and detach from certain things.
Mm,
Really working to discern, with as much peace as possible, where where I can have an impact, where I should have an impact, and where I can just kind of let go and, realize that I can't control everything in that way. So, I mean, just for an example, at the Abbey, as director, I have, and some might say should have more agency. I have a lot of agency, but some might say should have more agency with decisions and stuff. And I just realized at the end of the day, it's not my community, and they have their vision and thoughts and ways of doing things, and I'm see good 30 years removed from most of them, and I know what has worked for me and what resonates with young people for the most part, and I have a vision, and if this isn't the place for it, in terms of that, then it's like, all right, God, like, you gave me this vision for a reason, but maybe now's not the time, here's not the place, these aren't the people. But let's take this want, this hope, this dream of something bigger and better here, and let's see where maybe it fits into in the future, or falls into place or something like that. So yeah, man, like I said, I've got little kids at home too, so you just sometimes have expectations of a parent, or as a parent, that you're all going to sit down and have a nice dinner, and you just can't even get everyone to the table for whatever reason. So
Yeah.
yeah, just practicing detachment, practicing uh, the presence and the peace of mind of knowing or discerning, what am I being called to serve? How am I being called to serve in this moment? Because I think it's natural to kind of want to bite off more than we can chew. Like you said, there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of needs. You start to see all these solutions, right? But that's not our job to solve all those problems. So
Yeah.
yeah, if it means I just need to change the diaper to, work on one thing at a time, or I just need to, maybe, work with something in a schedule in the building or something, a program to make something work out. It's like, what's the bigger picture here? And, how can I be of service to that bigger picture?
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
It's not always easy to expose yourself like that, and I honor you for doing that. And thank you.
Well, you make it
Um,
easy to, Chad. You made me comfortable.
well, good. I try. So, I am big into meditating. I'm big into the breath and being still. And I was wondering if the last few minutes of the show here, you would join me in the audience in doing that together. Um, I also say that, and I think you would agree with this, that in that stillness is the sacredness. We are experiencing the divine. And from that sacredness, that stillness, that is where anything can happen: healing, transformation, change, whatever, and love, and a sense of community. And so I'll lead us through that. I may or may not say a couple words, but I will. I'll bring us back so that you know that we've kind of ended that. But if you could join us, Andrew, just take a deep breath and we'll get started. And as we open our eyes and come back together in this moment, may we bring this stillness with us. And may we be the stillness that we need in our lives and with each other. Andrew, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for being part of the conversation. And it's been a pleasure.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much, Chad. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for your invitation.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you in the next show.